Hey, welcome to this is my third broadcast, and I'm gonna keep it probably a little bit shorter, say probably about an hour or so. And I'm gonna look at the Deadpool shot again. I was working on yesterday, and today I'm gonna start fleshing it out a bit. I'm gonna do some of the details on his accessories and so on. But just to kind of refresh what I have, I've worked on this. I blocked this out based off reference of Nick Cage dancing in a movie. It's kind of funny, the entertaining dance. I'm pretty happy overall with the body mechanics and that and the polish. Now it's not super polished. There's definitely stuff that I want to finesse, but I kind of feel like putting in some of the details now will give my eyes a break from looking at the body in a way. I'll just switch me to sort of a different mode, and then I'm pretty sure I will as I kind of look at it over and over as I'm doing the next stage. I'll probably add in little details. Like even now I can see just a tiny little thing I want to add on this hand. You see there, it kind of comes in at a nice angle. So I'm just going to set that key there, and I just want to drag it just a little bit here. There you go. So that's the kind of thing that I just see that as I'm looking at it, from a new point of view. I just kind of want to like just keep on adding in extra layers of overlap and just drag it just to make it feel kind of more organic, more animated, more fun, and more fluid. But yeah, so today, as I said, I'm going to focus. I'm going to save my file as a new file. You see, I've got lots of files here saved. And I always like to give it like sort of a descriptive name, so I'm going to call it as overlap or say accessories. Change it to today's date. Just give it a new number at the end because that's the number I'm going to hit increment save every now and then to sort of update that. And I'm going to bring back then some of the items that I've hidden. They're on a layer here. I really like to use display layers. It's going to be hidden for you, unfortunately. It's underneath my, if I can bring this up here, you can see it probably underneath my webcam. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. You can see it there. So I'm going to just unhide this layer, which brings back all the gear. But I don't want to necessarily work with all of that right away. I might start with his belt. I might start with, say, this object. And maybe these guys. Let's go into perspective view. So maybe this stuff. And these as well, I guess. I'm going to put those on a new layer. I'm going to call this layer so these are going to be. Oh, I renamed the wrong one. That's sorry. That's a layer I have from my ground plane. So I'll do that. That's obviously this layer. Yeah. So that's the layer, and then I'm going to get the controllers for those, just for those ones. And again, this is what I really like about display layers. You can kind of section off parts of the rig as you're working on it. So I've got the accessory controls here. Yeah. So if I just want the ones, I'm going to make sure I reference this one because I selected geometry isn't working. So I'm going to select these controllers. I'm not going to worry about it. So there's weapons and so on for now. I'm just going to pick those ones. And while I have those selected, actually, I'm going to just create another button here. I'm going to call this something like that. That just quickly allows me to select all of those objects. So I need to key them. And I'm going to create a new layer from that as well. So now I can hide the other accessory controls, and still got those ones visible. So it just allows me to kind of focus on what I want. Because if I unhide everything, there's really a lot of controls on this rig, which is great. But I just don't want to deal with those all when I'm animating a particular thing. I just want to. In fact, I think I won't be able to unhide hide the body controls and not hide those because they're part of the same group. But I can certainly hide the rest of the gear and the rest of the accessory controls, but not the body controls. Yeah, so that's fine. In fact, I might put these two in selected objects. I don't need to see those right now. So yeah, so that's what I've got. I've got the belt accessories. And what I'm going to do is just go to frame one. I'm just going to hit S to set a key and just to lock it in. A common thing in here people talking about in animation is workflow thing called straight ahead or pose to pose. And there are kind of two different methods of working. With pose to pose, you sort of build the poses, and then you kind of work on the transitions between each of those poses. Whereas with straight ahead, you just kind of start with one pose and just work your way forward, kind of like the way stop motion animation does it, because they just have to work that way because they're working with an actual puppet. And some people prefer one way or another, or people tend to choose one depending on what kind of shot they're working on. You often hear people saying like, maybe an action shot will work more for straight ahead, because you kind of get more spontaneity into it, and you're kind of thinking where everything's going from, where it's going all the time. Whereas maybe an acting shot, people might tend to work pose to pose more, because they're kind of thinking, okay, what pose expresses this line of dialogue or this acting beat or whatever really clearly. And I think the both are merit, but I find I tend to use both in the same shot, but I use them at different stages. What I would tend to do is use pose to pose to begin with, to kind of lay down the structure. I'd lay down the initial pose, then go back in, add breakdowns, and add more keys and so on. And then the straight ahead passes then I would tend to do on things like the accessories, anything that kind of overlaps, because I need to figure out where that's coming from and where it's going. I can't really do that pose to pose. It doesn't. It's just very hard to figure it out. You have to kind of see where it was before you know where it's going to be. Sometimes if you just put two poses and then try in between it, it doesn't really work. Well, it doesn't work for me anyway. And I think most people would find that for overlap and things like that, straight ahead is a good way to do it. So it tends to be a little bit of a messier workflow, I guess, whereas pose to pose is more organized. But I find that's kind of typical with shots. You start off quite organized, and you lay down the structure, and then as you go on with the shot, you're kind of offsetting things. You're keying controllers on keys where other controllers aren't keyed, that kind of stuff. So it gets harder and harder to change it, but it gets more organic, and you don't need to key everything on every controller and every new key after a while. Like that thing I did with the hand there, that was a specific thing I wanted just with one hand, like this little action here, that little bit of drag there, or what was it there? I don't need to key the head on that pose because I didn't do anything with the head, So that's the kind of thing. So you end up having more keys on certain parts, and usually the parts that are, further away. I think obviously yesterday, further away from the source of the motion. So anyway, enough yakking. I'm gonna get going with actually just doing some animation. So I'm gonna start with this guy with the kind of control buckle here in the middle of his around his navel, pretty much. I'm just going to look at him walking in. I'm going to take a section, say up to about there. I like to take really short sections, like say 20 or 30 frames at a time, and just kind of think about where is it coming from, where is it going to, where is it going to overlap. So I might put a tiny bit. I'm going to be quite subtle with this to begin with, and then I might end up pushing it. So I'm going to just push it back towards where it was. And then when he gets to the extreme, he's kind of hitting his extreme there. I like this thing to follow up a little bit, maybe twist it a little bit as well, just to get more organic sort of feel. And maybe rotate it back this way. I often using the arrow and nudge keys as well. That's doing it in camera space. Let's just add again a little bit, and I might kind of nudge it back towards the previous pose here, and even maybe down a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of overlap. I don't know how much this will come across on the screen capture. Hopefully we're getting a pretty good frame rate, so you will be able to see that. I can always do a play blast later as well, as I've got a bit more done. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the sense that wherever he's going, that stuff wants to go, but it hasn't gotten there yet. There's a little bit of give, a little bit of looseness to it. And so as he comes down, I'm going to key that back up. I'm just using my Alt and arrow keys to just nudge that back up again. And it's going to be pretty subtle, but you find that all this stuff kind of adds up. You don't notice it maybe on one accessory, but you feel it with all of them. You start feeling that this is something that has real weight and physics to it. So now he's going up here, and it's quite a sharp push up there. So I want to really sell that by pushing this down. I'm kind of trying to arc it as well. I'm trying to have it like come down here like this, and then here I would say it would probably catch up. And here I would even just nudge it down still, just to have it kind of. Yeah, that feels. I can push that a little bit more. But say it's pretty simple so far, but it's just breaking it up a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing now, a similar sort of pass with these guys. I might even select all of them, just kind of nudge them all together. I can always break them up a little bit later, but just to get something in that I can react to. That's often a thing I find as well as it's kind of blank canvas syndrome. Sometimes if you just do something and have something that you can react to, it you can kind of go, oh, that's too much or that's too little or whatever, but at least you've got something in there. So again, I'm just going to nudge that stuff up and to the left, to his right, so screen left, I suppose. And then as he comes up, I'm going to bring it down and maybe over a little bit. So I'm kind of going every 3 keys, but I'm not really counting like 3 keys exactly. It's more like where does he change? Where does his where are his body change? Where is he hitting extreme keys and coming back? I'm kind of going like maybe a frame or 2 frames after that, and then I'm kind of keeping this stuff going. Again, he's kind of hit his down maybe a frame or 2 before this. I might keep that stuff up just a little bit longer, again, just to kind of sell that it's pretty subtle so far. But now here, he's moving up pretty quick there, so I really want to sell that this is lagging behind. And then as he hits the up close, that stuff has to kind of catch up. That's not too bad. And what I might do is a little detail. I should check really the camera. That's our mirrored shot cam. Yeah, this stuff, we're not going to see that what's it called, grenade or something, I guess, on his back too much. But I like to, so I'm not really going to bother too much at the beginning. I'm going to just knock it down a tiny bit, and then knock it up a tiny bit. But I also want to sort of rotate it. I want to kind of spin it out a little bit, so get a bit of a sense of overlap. Have I got? I'm going to rotate and kick it back to the last key just to keep it there so we actually see that rotation. There we go. And then as he comes in, then it'll bump off his body and then maybe bounce out again a little bit, and then down again. Let's see how that feels. Pretty subtle. I could maybe even push it a little bit more. Maybe just keep it there a little bit longer and then have it really kind of hit, bonk, and then out again. It's important to make noises as you're animating as well. Part of the process, and then up here, and then maybe again we have to swing forward a little bit. I'm going to kill that key. I don't necessarily need that one. And there you go. It's very subtle. I might even add a little bit as well, but maybe a couple of these controllers out here, maybe this one. We have that settled back just a little bit, and then down, and then again maybe here. I'm exaggerating stuff really. Like that probably would be quite tight, I guess, in real life, and it probably wouldn't move around that much. But I'm kind of, animation, you often want to sort of exaggerate what's there to kind of, it's like a caricature of real physics. Unless you're, animating for like a VFX movie, in which case you really want it to be as kind of realistic as possible. But knowing what to push and what to kind of exaggerate can be can be useful even in that case, because often, movies, even like the likes of the Marvel stuff, whatever, it's not real physics. It's kind of superhero physics. It's exaggerated from real life. I'm just going through now and picking different controls. And I'm just kind of adding a little bit of overlap to them. You have to swing forward a little bit here. And say again, this stuff is pretty subtle, but all that up. I'll do maybe one of this. Back through here a little bit. Forward a little bit. Again, it's pretty subtle. Behind his hands, you won't even see it, but and the last one then, I'm just going to do a quick pass on this one. Again, I'm just going to put maybe, well, actually, I set a key here and a key here, and then get rid of this one. I kind of like at this point breaking things up, having things on different keys. There we go. So you see that little tiny bit of overlap there, and then swing this direction up, like that. Here. I'm gonna hit my mirror cam actually for a second to kind of freshen my eyes. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It's pretty subtle. But as I say, it's if I hide it, if I hide those where are they? New layer there. You kind of miss them when they're gone. It's one of those things. It's like you don't really see it, but you kind of feel it. And when now he feels more like a rigid thing. His whole body is just kind of one unit. Like I've tried my best to get some overlap through his fingers, and I'm going to do another detailed pass on his fingers before I finish this job for sure. Even something like grabbing his fingers, maybe there, maybe dragging them back, break up that pose a little bit, even something like that. Again, it's pretty subtle, but you sort of feel it. And yeah, just to break up that pose, make it a little slightly nicer silhouette. I'll probably start doing that stuff as I'm doing this as well, just to kind of and that shape. His hand pose feels very default, I guess is the word I'm looking for. You see, I'm using a little script there. Select more of these. It's an experiment I've been working on. Basically, when you select something, it looks for more of the same kind of thing. So if I select his one of his finger controllers, it'll select all of them. Basically, it doesn't work on every rig. It depends on the naming convention. It's something I've been kind of working on, sort of a Python exercise. So there, again, I'm just going to drag it, just so things aren't hitting all at the same time. Just breaking things up a little bit. Again, these things are tiny, but they all add up. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to save and command. I haven't saved for a bit. It is Maya, and then I'm going to show its accessories again. I think I'm going to go through the rest of the shop with these items, with this particular set of objects, because once I've started on them, it's kind of like trying to keep them consistent is a tricky thing as well. And trying to have, you don't want them to suddenly kind of change weight. So I'm going to pick the next section. Let's make sure they're all keyed here on frame 28. That's again why this little picker thing is very handy. You just use it to select them all. You can add shelf buttons for that kind of stuff, but this is nice because it gets saved in the scene file. You can even save it out and load it into other files if you've got another animation with the same character or something like that. It's a cool little script. All control picker, AWE control picker. It's a free script. I think it's on high end or whatever that's called nowadays. So I'm going to look at this next section. I'm actually going to take a couple of frames previously as well, because I want to see. So now, yeah, I can see that those. I'm going to actually just nudge them all up in camera space like that. Might break them up a little bit more. Might take this one down, maybe even rotate it up a little bit like this. And you don't really feel the overlap yet. I'm going to go back into perspective view for this. excuse me, you don't feel the overlap yet because there's no kind of follow through on it yet. It's just dragging. So again, I'm going to just show the controls. And I'm going to just drag these all. Maybe I'll drag them all, but kind of different amounts. That'll make it feel a little bit more organic, so they're not all dragging exactly the same way. Maybe he's got different items in each of them. So maybe this one's like heavy compared to the other ones, just a little bit heavier. And look at his grenades and stuff here as well. I don't know what that is. Maybe tear gas or something. But yeah, you gotta have weapons when you're a superhero. Or at least one that's Deadpool. So there you go. That, and see now it feels weightless because they don't settle. So I might select, do is key them there, and then reset them. There's another little button I have here, which just puts them back in their default pose. But then I might actually kick it down even further than that. Maybe kick these back, this one back. Maybe push it down a little bit. Maybe these ones. Kick them down a little bit. I'll push that a bit further, down. And then everything here is kind of, it should be kind of overlapping upwards. So I'm going to take this stuff and just push it up a little bit. Because he's stopped his, he's come up and now he's gone back down again, so this stuff should be dragging upwards still. I'll only animate this until it's out of shot. Once it's out of shot, like there's there's really no point in animating it. And then I'm going to drag it down here. Now here it's all going to settle. It's all going to hit the extreme, like it's going to hit the limits of whatever it can do. It's not going to go through its body, hopefully. You notice it doesn't really feel very heavy there. So what I want to do is I want to take them, keep them there, and then here, notice them back towards the previous key, and even maybe push them, drag them further. I want to make that one go back up here. This one. I'm just kind of breaking it up as much as possible. I might even push it up just a little bit. And then down here a bit more. Up. And then down, because he's going up. So wherever he's going, they're kind of following behind him, but kind of offset. I'm not feeling it enough yet. I want to get some rotation in there as well. And a combination of rotation and translation would usually sound a bit better. Yeah, see now I'm feeling a bit more there. I kind of imagine this bit is kind of the heaviest part because I presume this is like a belt buckle and all these other objects are on that buckle or on the belt. So that's where you're going to take a lot of the force. I don't want to make that go through his body. I'm just going to pull it out. Or through his pelvis or crotch there. Actually, I'm seeing a bit of penetration there. Just pull that out a little bit. And then push it back out and push it. I'm going to go into object mode, so I just pull it straight out and its own axis rather than world axis. So yeah, so I'm still not feeling it quite enough. When I watch it full speed, I'm getting pretty good playback here, so I feel like I can trust the yeah, I definitely want that frame there as well. Oops. And stuff. But see, sometimes I just kill a key. I just kind of key around the key that I have, and it kind of averages things out. Again, I'm just kind of breaking up the poses a little bit. And now I'm going to go back just to I've got 46 frames. I'm going to go back to my shotgun and just do a quick play blast just to check. See how that feels in real time. Yeah, you can really feel it on the tear gas or whatever it is there. And on the other stuff, it's a little bit more subtle, but it's there. What I find is really nice with this rig as well are those kind of bullet belts that go up along. It's kind of abs there. When I get to those, then I'll have another layer of this again. I'm feeling it's pretty good. I'm feeling like this one, I can maybe add a little bit more. Maybe have it go up a little bit more here. And have it drag a little bit more there. Yeah, now I'm feeling it kind of hitting off his body a little bit better. Maybe this one behind it just to break up the shape a little bit. I'll push that up a little bit. Yeah. That right there. Just so everything's not kind of hitting at the same time. And this again here. Swing through a bit. Yeah, I feel like that's better over there. Maybe I feel this one maybe could use a little bit. Maybe drag, maybe this one, maybe put that. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good with that. So again, I'm just going to key everything on frame 46 because that's my that's where I am right now. I want to just sort of bookmark that and keep everything there. So I'm going to just hit save incremental again. You can do that from up here, I think, but it's just it's a tool I've been using forever, so I'm kind of used to doing it. And then I'm going to go to frame 46. And at this point, I think the camera starts pulling in. No, not for a while yet, actually. So the motion is more subtle here, so I'm going to just knock it all up a tiny bit. Maybe down here. I'm doing it all as a group here at the moment, but I'll break it up a little bit in a minute. Yeah, I'm just kind of putting in the kind of main poses first. Now I'll kind of break it up a little bit. And down. Camera change there. I'm going to key it there, and then here, push it up a little bit. Key it there, and back here, push it back up. Down. I'm probably going to lag more there because that's when it's moving starts. Yeah, that's not too bad as a starting point. And then I'm going to go through them individually a little bit and add some rotation as well. And break them up a little bit more, maybe a little bit like that. Up a little bit, tilt it a little bit. Anything you can do, I remember one of my teachers always said, try not to rotate something on one axis. It always looks a bit computery. Try and break it up and get it moving even on this axis as well. Particularly head of a character like that. And there it really feels like it dies there. Like he's jiggling around there a little bit. So maybe I'll actually have it come back up. But see how that looks. Maybe. Actually, no, I like it. It's just adding a little bit of noise there. I don't want it to become so distracting that we stop looking at his head, because his head is really the funny point of this scene. Like, he's really given that head banging action is all, and I want that to read. That's what I want people to be looking at. It's kind of what people tend to look anyway when we're talking to somebody or looking at somebody. We look at their face usually. But I feel like this stuff, you'll just kind of feel it. So again, I'm going to try and get it down a little bit more, maybe rotate it back, pull it out a little bit here, maybe back towards axis, just to break it up a little bit. And then he's changed direction there, so I can pull it up. One key there and there, and then get rid of that key. Here. And we have back that way, he's going around. There, I'm doing this from the camera view now. What I tend to like jump between the camera view and the perspective view quite a bit. Drag down. We can kill that key. So it's subtle, but I'm seeing that little bit of jiggle there, and especially in this middle section. It's just giving a little bit more. And I'm going to work on maybe this one down a little bit here. Maybe kind of anticipate that, drag it up a little bit and out. Yeah, see there's a little bit of movement there. Maybe down, back down a little bit. And up. Fade it. Go that bit. Here. Yeah, I want to get that sort of jiggle that I have on the other things, and I want to break it up a little bit from the other one. Down, fade a bit as well. Up. Basically, always kind of, where is it coming from? It's very much like if you're animating a cape or hair on a character. You always think about where was it. It's intersecting his leg a little bit there. I don't want to make that too obvious. I'm probably going to switch his geometry to smoothed when I do the final render, so that'll probably shrink a little bit, so I don't mind that too much. Definitely see it there a little bit too much. His body. So I might even pull it out here. Maybe just get rid of this key just so it kind of favors into that. And then get rid of that key. And push it, nudge it back. Oh, not so much translation wise, just rotation wise. Again, just kind of pull it. I'll nudge it back towards that key. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. So I'm going to do another quick one on this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat there. I don't know how interesting this is because I'm doing the same thing over and over again, but it does hopefully help to see it. As I say, I found this kind of stuff quite difficult when I began animating. Just trying to figure out where things were. You know, I don't know. I just found like I understood the concept of it, but I just found it took me really quite a while to really get comfortable with it. I think it's just one of those things you just kind of learn by doing, which is kind of with animation in general. I think you know it's great to see workflow and tutorials and that kind of stuff, but ultimately you learn most when you're doing it yourself. Like I'm learning every day, every time I do a new shot for a client or for my own personal work. You know, you're kind of always having these little aha moments. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then I'm going to just maybe do a quick one on this. This one isn't so visible, so I'm not going to worry about it so much. Pick my battles, you know. But I'll probably spend more focus on it here because now we can see it a lot more. I might just give it something there. A key there, and just give it that key. And here. And maybe nudge it back over there. So it's kind of lagging behind the twist as well as the actual up and down. You know, you really want to think about where the force is originating from. It's basically his hips. His hips and his pelvis are kind of driving everything really. You know, it's pushing through his legs, and that's pushing everything up, and you know, pushing his body up. So everything wants to sort of follow with that. And then I'm going to do a quick pass just on these guys. Again, they're not super visible because his elbow or his forearm is kind of behind him most of the time. But here, you can probably see it a little bit there. And then here, I'm going to kill that key. Again, up here. You notice I delete keys a lot. That's you know, one of my favorite hotkeys. It's one it's not a default one. It's one I set up. It's the cut key command on the timeline here. You just have a cut. I have it on a hotkey X, so it's just kind of underneath set key. So I have S and X, S for set and X for remove. and I have my other finger down on Alt, so I'm kind of like just always in the same area as the keyboard. I'm a real believer in hotkeys and things like that because animation, as you can probably tell, it's a very time-consuming sort of thing. So anything you can do to speed things up and find a workflow that works for you is really valuable. For me, hotkeys are just there. That's a big change there. So I'm going to really push this. So I want to just settle back down here, even though we don't really see it at that point. And then maybe have it still up there and then drag down again. Still dragging down. And then maybe I'm going to do another play blast. And this is my shot camera, isn't it? Yeah. You kind of see how that feels in real time. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. They're really feeling on that. Even though we don't see it very much, we're kind of feeling it. I feel like the grenade here as well. I want to push that a little bit more. I feel like that will be heavier probably than what's in these. I don't know what it keeps in those, but probably this is a little bit heavier. But it's metal. He might be keeping something in those like that wouldn't probably weigh as much as that. Oh, there we go. Just there's a nice trick as well I like to use for finishing off overlap. I don't know if I'll get to do it on this section because he's still moving quite a bit, but actually I'll do it just to break this up a little bit. I'll go to another quick version of Maya and just show you this nice little trick just as an aside, kind of related to this. I did a video on this on Vimeo a while back, but it's a trick I use all the time actually. If I have, I'm going to use my favorite thing, a cube. Create a cube. If I have something, say, here, and then it gets over to here, say frame 20, that's really exciting. If I want to have that get there and then overshoot and settle back a bit, what I'll do is I'll maybe go to frame 24 and have it kind of go too far. And then I'll take what was at frame 22, so halfway between those, and put it on frame 28. This is going to be a very rough example of this, but just to kind of show the process. So I've taken what was there, I've taken this pose, put that in frame 28. The way I take that is I just middle mouse here. If I'm middle mousing, the animation isn't updating, so I can kind of copy that pose over to here, 28. And then I'll take the pose here from 26 to frame 32. And then say here to frame 36 and here to frame 40. I'm just going 4 frames at a time. And this is very arbitrary. This is just to show the principle. This would obviously not be so regimented in a real situation, but just to show the principle. And now if I watch this, see that? I get sort of this overshoot and this kind of settle. But play blast, it'll be clear again. And it's very controllable. That's the thing. If I decide actually I wanted to overshoot more, and then I can just kind of really quickly do it. Just push that pose more, and then just copy them again. Middle mousing each time. Whoops. Now I got the same thing, but just bigger. If I wanted to like last longer, I just keep doing that for more. Play blast that again. It's just a real quick trick. A lot of people use things like physics now for this kind of thing, which is good. But you can kind of sometimes I find you end up fiddling around with this physics settings more than you end up animating. It's kind of a pain, and kind of thinking about it yourself, like how much do I want that to overlap? It gives you a lot more control, I feel. Just a quick little trick. If you look at the graph editor for that, you can kind of see what the curve is doing. It just translate X is the kind of main thing. You can see it's kind of fading out. It's like a wave that's hitting, fading out. But you can probably get rid of that. Ease in. That'll probably look better again. There you go. So just as a little aside, I often do that kind of thing on props. I might get a chance to do that. I'm going to key everything there. I'm going to say incremental again. I'm going to see what happens after this. So I'm going to actually key everything here. This is kind of like an extreme. And then I'm going to bring everything up a little bit. Maybe drag things out. So I think I worked on a little bit. Slightly more pose to pose way, just because that's kind of a big pose change. You know, it's kind of easy for me to see where things were and where things were. And then I'm just kind of going through and breaking things up a little bit, pushing things, and just, you know, sometimes people would key everything on different frames, which is certainly, you know, valid, and I do that as well. But sometimes just making the pose a little bit different on each frame, it has the same effect. So maybe push this one a bit more and push this one a bit more, rotation wise, you know, just to kind of break it up a little bit. Maybe push this one because I'm kind of assuming it's, you know, it's kind of looks pretty heavy. There you go. And because I already put that pose in there down here, I've got that. A bit more because I just like doing it. I think here. Then I would bring everything down. Just down here. Oops, got them all. So keep them all there. And maybe back here a bit. Maybe we would do them all together at this point, just to try and get a little bit quicker with it. But I can still go in and kind of overlap individual things. And then, you know, just break it up a little bit. I'll pull this one down. It's a nice, clear, obvious sort of one. Maybe these guys. And definitely want to make this, push that further. Nudge them, just gently break it up a little bit. I'm really feeling it here and this. I really like what I've done there. Further, even. Is there still going to drag? I should think about it. Like while the force is coming down, they're not going to get to their finishing point. You know, they're kind of like suspended in the air until that reaches the bottom point, until whatever's pulling it gets to the bottom point. Then they're going to catch up. So it's a kind of a common mistake I used to make. Do I have any tips for getting good at modeling? No, quite honestly. I don't model at all, really. That's a different person to ask, unfortunately. You know, I do some rigging. I sometimes do blend shapes, but generally just his explanation. IK. Okay, yeah, that's a question I can definitely talk about. In fact, it's relevant to this shot even. Please could you explain when you use IK or FK arms? Usually I use FK when arms are free and IK in case characters should grab something interact with another object. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. And because you're using IK, even if hands are free and using place to isolate better to control arcs. What's your opinion about it? It depends, yeah. Like I've seen some people do everything with IK and they make it look amazing. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, some people say, oh, you have to use this, you have to do that, and anybody that tells you an absolute like that, I'm almost suspicious of it because it really depends. You know, it depends on your own workflow and your mindset, even on the individual shot. And that's not a very good answer because it's like, well, which do I use? But I could talk about what I'm using here and why I'm doing it. And basically, I'm using both in this shot. I'm using, if I actually, where do I get his? I can get his body controls to stay playing while I scrub the shot here. Let's save and comment again so I don't lose what I was doing. You'll see for this early section here, his arms are in FK, and I find like for things like walks and runs and stuff like that, I really like FK because it gives you sort of what the arm will do naturally. You know, if I swing my arm, you know, my hand is going to go along with it and that kind of stuff. I find that's easier to do in FK. The problem with IK is it's always translation based. So if you've got a control going from one place to another, it doesn't naturally arc. Like if you just said, yeah, FK tends to give you free arcs, right? Absolutely, yeah, it does. IK, you have to kind of put the arcs in. You can sometimes control the arcs better with IK because you can put it to hand exactly where you want it, but you'll tend to need a lot more keys typically. Um, and FK is kind of a bit more like how our limbs actually work, if you like, because your hand. You might think like when you're moving your hand, oh, I want to grab this thing. My hand is leading the action. It's not really. It's actually your shoulder and your forearm and your elbow. Everything is connected to reach out for something. It's not actually your arm. The problem with that with IK sometimes if you're relying on it too much, especially if you're a kind of newer animator, is you end up feeling a little bit like your character's on strings. You end up with this kind of sort of puppety sort of feel like those old TV shows like the Thunderbirds, that kind of stuff. It ends up feeling like the character's a bit like this, like their hand, like in the cockpit, their hand has been pulled around on a string because it is, because that's what IK is. It's something that where the hand reaches for the goal all the time. So IK will look like that unless you're really careful about making it not look like that by posing it really carefully. Whereas FK will naturally give you arcs, but it is a bit harder to pose because if I want to get, I'm saving incremental like crazy here just to make sure I don't break anything. If I want to get, like, say his arm is here, if I want to make his hand come out here, I can't just grab it and pull it out here. I need to like rotate the shoulder, rotate the elbow, rotate the wrist. So it's more work to pose in FK typically, but then it's kind of cleaner usually. You can run into gimbal issues and other things like that, so there's nothing is totally safe. But and like for this arc here, this is actually kind of an interesting part of it. Like for the earlier part of it here, I just want his arms to kind of react. He's not doing like a typical walk where he's just swinging his arms as he walks. Because of the acting in the shot, he's kind of preparing almost for this action here where he claps his hands and brings them down. So I'm pretty sure I ended up putting quite a few keys. Yeah, you can see there's a section here where I've got lots of keys to kind of control how his elbow comes down through that arc there. I would have had to do that with IK or FK, really. But for the earlier part, you'll notice there's not many keys here because I just have his arm kind of swinging around. And there's probably a little bit more on the, no, not even that, on the elbow there. It's just kind of swinging up. I've probably got more on his wrist. Yeah, you'll notice his wrist has a lot more keys on it because it's further from the force. And I want to make sure it kind of comes up with a nice shape here, break it up. Like now that I'm looking at it, a little bit more in line with the wrist there, or the forearms. Yeah, breaking from my shot angle. Yeah, that feels a bit. Sorry, as I go into noodle zone. Maybe even here. So yeah, so some of this will be, and certainly the clap was a little harder to get. That pose, I had to kind of work quite a bit with the IK controls, or the FK controls, sorry, because to get both of his hands lined up on top of each other. I actually even penetrate just a tiny bit just to try and sell it, because you only see it's only like one frame. Break off again. I'm gonna like finesse the fingers on that bit as well. But just to give an example, then where I would go to IK, I do go to IK later on in the shot for this bit. Just here, you'll notice once his hands kind of get to this point, they kind of stick to his thighs, and the IK controllers or the FK controllers, sorry, at this point aren't actually doing anything. I can just animate them. That's because his arms are in IK at this point, and because this is the kind of thing where that would be really difficult to do in FK, to keep his hand feeling like it's actually physically on his thigh. You can see the FK controls there are jiggling around like crazy, but his arm is just staying where it is. Because I basically what I did, I kind of knew that this was the only section of the shot that I wanted the IK arms, so I just I don't have the IK controls visible, but I just constrained them to some joints in the rig on the actual leg joints, just so I could kind of lock them in there. And what I would need to do then probably at some stage is so there's a little bit of penetration there with the fingers as his hand comes off, because the blend isn't totally smooth. Okay, you can see that. Yeah, I can, so I'm gonna fix it when I see it. I don't want that. I'm going through it. Here we go. Yeah. Let's push it a little bit towards that key. Here, yeah. So you're putting me into. I can't help it, you know. Once I start looking at something in particular and it starts annoying me, best thing is just to fix it. I won't remember. Maybe in 5 minutes I was looking at something else. And that's kind of a thing with CG. You really sort of iterate a lot. There you go. It's feeling a little bit better. So yeah. So just to go back to the IKFK thing, their his arms are going back to FK then as well. Once they leave his um, ties, the arm is fully in IKF. It's in FK now again. The FK controls are working. I tend to do it over a frame. Sometimes I'll do it over 2 or 3, but I'll go in and kind of fix the blend manually. But this rig, I think, comes, I'm pretty sure it does, it comes with a script for matching the poses, which I find really useful. Anytime a rig doesn't have that, I kind of struggle a little bit with it. But it's really nice to be able to like pose in one and then switch to the other mode and then come back to it. So I hope that makes sense. I'd say it really depends on what you're doing. But one of the places where it's really you really feel FK is like for things like this. I'm still not totally gone on this. I feel like I can push that a little bit more, even there, a little bit more, sort of, yeah, I get a bit more weight there. That's following through a little bit more. And that's the kind of thing that's quite hard to get with IK. Not that you can't, absolutely you can. I'm going to pull the shoulder down a bit as well, just to really show that weight. I'm going to hide the controls when he's playing back as well. So thanks, a good question, and they're actually helping me fix a few things in my shot there as I'm looking at that. That's a great thing about doing something like this. I feel is you kind of get fresh eyes on it. You start looking at different things. So where am I? I'm up to frame. Oh, I'm looking at the whole lot there. I'm going to just see where these are keyed. So these are keyed to frame 199 now at this point. So I think it's just cleaning up to 4 now. I think I'll just finish off the belt for this last 30 or so frames. And then that will be me for today, probably, unless you have any more questions. So I'm going to just keep them down a little bit again. I'm going to reduce the timeline again just to see less stuff. So at this point, some of them are outside the frame a little bit. But again, I just want to feel it. Especially on this, I'm kind of having fun animating these two particularly. Once I've established that those are kind of heavy, I want to sort of keep that feeling going. And then again, as soon as I hit the back, I'm going to zero them out again. No, I'm not actually. I'm going to just, that's too much of a pose change. But I'm going to rotate these down so they feel like they've got back to their default pose again. And not going through this form. Maybe just jiggle them. Again, I'm sort of going back and forward between pose to pose and straight ahead. Sometimes I'm picking an extreme pose and doing the pose to pose method, and then otherwise I'm switching. Other times I'm switching back to kind of thinking about it more in straight ahead sort of way. So as he comes up here, that's when he comes down. So again, I'm going to kind of work pose to pose for a second. So there's where he changes direction. So at this point, that's where I want this stuff. Oops, start swinging up again, kind of lagging back, translating up a little bit. I'm being quite loose with this, because I just want this to feel like this is stuff that just happened by accident. It's not, he's not controlling this stuff. It's just flopping around as he's moving. It's just reacting to what he's doing. This stuff it doesn't have a brain, or it's not deciding. But on the way up, then I want to nudge those back to the previous pose, maybe even kick them down a little bit. There you go. Feel that? It's pretty subtle, but as I'm kind of keeping it down and then leaving it kick forward, and then here actually push it further. You can pull them out a little bit, doing them all in one go there. A little bit. That's organic, but there we go. I'm feeling that. I kind of want to, I don't know, I just want to break it up a little bit more. That up. Maybe push it back towards that pose. Again, he hasn't reached his extreme yet, so the stuff isn't going to settle fully yet. And now it's down here. I'm going to just key to the last frame. Give that a shot. See, I'm really feeling it on this. I mean, I'm quite happy with that. And this, you know, might be quite exaggerated. You know, as I say, in reality, his belt might be this loose on him. You know, you probably wouldn't want it too loose with all this gear on it. But I'm going to just push this bit a little more because it's kind of a feature. It's something that kind of catches your eye because of the graphic on it. I'll push it up a little bit more. It's out of screen. I can see by the camera frame there that it's actually off screen. But and again, I just want to do just a tiny bit. I might key here, here, and here, and get rid of those ones. So now I'm kind of offsetting keys a little bit and breaking things up. Backing this out. Maybe back a little bit towards that key. This I feel more here, here. Maybe even string it forward a little bit. Again, that idea of like not just rotating on one axis, keeping it back towards there. I'm feeling there's a nice little rhythm to that there. I'll do a play blast of this so you can see it at full speed. I'm liking it. It's just one more. I feel like this one. I feel like I can drag it back that way, and maybe this one as well. Move it back that way, just to kind of sell that it's oops, it's following the twist of his body as well as the up and down. So these two, maybe I could just grab these and rotate them back on the local axis towards that. Maybe there. Yeah. Maybe a similar sort of thing, just with this one, just on this key here. Maybe here. Really want to more. Exaggerate. It's always kind of good to kind of exaggerate initially, even if you kind of come back, you know, in an hour and then look at it again and go, oh, that's too much. It's kind of easy to pull it back, but it's kind of hard to keep pushing it. If you know what I mean? Like when you exaggerate, you can see it, and then you can decide whether it's too much or not. But when you can't see it, you're kind of like second guessing all the time. I feel like that's pretty good. I'm gonna just keyframe everything on the last frame again. So I'll just play my whole shot now with that stuff in there, and let's have a look. Yeah, there's a few spots where I might polish it a little bit, but I feel in general I'm pretty happy with it. Like it's doing what I want. It's not taking away from the performance to me. It's not like, you know, look at me, I'm overlapping, but it's just grounding him a little bit. It's making everything feel a bit heavy and a bit, you know, like he's an actual person who's got gravity affecting them. So I think I'm going to save my shot there for today. Probably the next time I stream, I'm going to maybe do the bullet belt because they're really nice. I've done those with the other dancing stuff, and there's actually loads of controls on them. Where are they? Yeah, I did this bit. Yeah, there's a lot of controls. I ended up not using all these controls because you see these purple ones, they kind of fall on this one. So you can do quite a lot with just those middle ones. So maybe do a similar pass. Reset that pose. A similar pass on those guys, and maybe these things on the shoulder a little bit as well. In the next pass. And that might be it for the accessories. I mightn't show his weapons in this shot. That's a weird Maya caching thing. The weapons are currently not following him, but they will if I restart Maya, I'm sure. But yeah, the bullet belt. I'll do that pass next. The next stream I do, and well, you can see they're kind of breaking up there as well. That's kind of ugly looking a little bit there. So I can fix that kind of stuff and also kind of do a similar overlap pass. It'll be quicker than these because there's only the two of them really, but again, like twisting them, like having them lag behind here. You'd be surprised how much that can add to it as well. But I'm going to leave those out for the moment. I'm not going to worry about those right now. But yeah, the next pass I do, the next time I do some streaming, hopefully tomorrow, I will get to that. So I'm going to call that my shot for today. I'm just going to look at your questions again. Dumpster Pump says, in these type of animations where you don't see the fixed camera, how do you manage your arcs to make a movement so appealing most of the time? Was this planned out during a rough breakdown stage? Or do you find it possible doing BS goes through? Yeah, I do. Yeah, basically, actually, this shot I started off without a shot cam, deliberately, just for a change of workflow. Because I sometimes find if you start with a shot cam really early, you just work to that camera, and well, at least I do, and then end up sort of getting weird kind of off balance poses. Like even if you look at yesterday's stream, actually, that was the first thing I was fixing. Actually, was some of the poses towards the end of this shot where I had been working more on the shot cam were a bit off balance in 3D space. So I ended up kind of fixing that stuff. But yeah, for this one, I actually found that was a pretty good thing to do. Was to just start off with just a perspective camera and just kind of strolling around them all the time and just trying to make it look reasonably good from most angles. Obviously the shot camera is the vital one. And that's the one where you want to check the arcs. Like you can see here at the end here, that hand gesture there just looks pretty bad. A bunk, and then it's just kind of coming through there. But I don't care because you can't see it. I can maybe tilt. I can maybe tilt that back a little bit to fix that part of it because we do see that. But maybe we can pull the forearm back a little bit. But his hand is looking pretty bad as well. But I don't care because his hand is off screen. So, if this was for a game, then yeah, absolutely, I'd keep polishing it from all different angles. I'd have a rough idea of what the player camera is going to look like. Hopefully, it depends on the game. Sometimes actually, I worked on a game a couple of years back called the Sexy Brutale, which was kind of a learning curve for me because the camera was really far. It was in almost like an autographic sort of view, and it was really far. And I was animating with my characters up like this, and I was doing all this kind of subtle stuff. And then we put it in game, and I'd be looking at them like this, like literally that size on the screen probably. And everything I was doing was just way too subtle. I started realizing that I had to actually zoom out. It's almost like the difference between a stage actor and a film actor. A stage actor has to make their gestures big so that they read from a distance. So it's definitely something you have to think about. But I found in this case there was kind of an advantage to working without the shot cam initially, just kind of laying stuff in and then putting in the shot cam at the end. And I animated pretty much based off what was in the movie. It is a little bit lazy, but it's it kind of works for the movie, so why not take something from the reference of that as well. Still looking at this end bit, I'm feeling like I might polish his torso and his head a little bit more. I don't think that this is totally done yet, but in terms of polish, and I might use BH Ghost or or the drawing tool here just to kind of finesse that. So, but yeah, for the moment, I'm just going to do one more play blast. Just want to leave it playing. couple of times there, so we can see it in real time. A nice thing with Keyframe Pro as well is you can just hit X, or at least maybe it's Control X by default, but I've got it set up to just X. You can see it mirrored. Sometimes it makes your shot look weird, and if it's looking weird, you can ask yourself, why is it weird? Why am I not seeing what I'm looking at the other way? Because you get very used to seeing it. It's weird how your mind kind of papers over the cracks a little bit after looking at something for a while, and you come back and see it fresh. You kind of go, "Ooh, that's not right." Like even at the end, I'm seeing that thing that's bugging me in the torso and the head a little bit more mirrored than I am normally. Yeah, it looks okay to me there, and then it looks okay to me. It doesn't look as good there. So I feel like this end section here, just this little bit, I just feel like it needs something just to kind of polish out a little bit more. Maybe I want to kind of favor this pose a bit more. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe just to kind of smooth out the end of it. I'm not quite sure. But I feel like it's something there, not quite. But I think I'll give myself a little break from it and see that with a fresh eye, and I'll come back to it. So yeah, I'm going to call that for today. Thanks a million for everybody for checking, stopping by and watching. These have been really fun to do. I'm going to try and do these pretty regularly. At the moment, I don't have a set schedule because I'm kind of doing work as well. So I kind of just, they're a little bit spontaneous. But as I go on, I think I find sort of a rhythm for them. I'll try and do these a little bit in a little bit more of a structured way, and I'll try and let people know when I'm going to be doing them. At the moment, I'm kind of just jumping in and out of them and trying. But I really appreciate you guys stopping by, and of course you can share these are all recorded, so you can watch something for I think it's like 2 weeks or something. They're still up, so you can share them. Feel free to let people know about the recordings and that, or the live stream, and they can please spread the word. Because I'm just trying to build. See, this is a new experiment for me, really doing these streams like this. I've done lots of videos on Vimeo and that kind of stuff, but doing it live is kind of really fun. It's something new for me, and I'm enjoying it. So I've done some teaching before in a college, so this is kind of like a little bit like that. But I get to do it without traveling, which is nice. So I'm really trying to see how far I can build it. So please, if you've other animators or people might be interested in checking this out, please let them know. We're going to try and build up the followers and hopefully maybe eventually move this to maybe do some subscribing stuff with some extra features, or that's down the line. But for the moment, I'm just trying to just practice this stuff and also have fun animating shots. And it's really great to have people stop by and check it out. And the questions are really appreciated because they give me a very good idea of what I should be talking about. So cheers. Thanks again. Take it easy.